Who do you look at around the league as you're studying and say, we're going to have to run through them?
Celtics.
No one in the West?
Nah, I'm fine in the West.
3-team deal that reunites D'Angelo Russell in the Los Angeles Lakers and sends out Russell Westbrook, that 2027 first-round pick. I'm told it's protected 1 through 4.
It's Kevin Durant heading out of Brooklyn. Durant dealt to the Phoenix Suns.
Ja Morant says he's fine with the West. But, the West? Well, the West took it personally. It was quite a wild week around the association, with lots of big names changing jerseys and zip codes in the blink of an eye during that insane trade deadline. But amidst all this chaos, where did the Golden State Warriors stand after the trade deadline? And how do these trades impact the Dubs' chances of winning another chip this season? Well, you're about to find out. Now, the first team that I want to talk about is the Lakers, and for the first time since the Russell Westbrook fiasco, Rob Pelinka finally made a sensible move by pulling an unexpected trade that sent Brody away in exchange for some solid pieces like Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, and the returning D'Angelo Russell. Big-time Lakers fan Shannon Sharp was pretty much positive about this move, and here's his take on this blockbuster trade.
We did upgrade our shooting. We got D'Angelo Russell, very good three-point shooter. We got Malik Beasley, a very good three-point shooter. So when you think about that, Malik Beasley and D'Angelo Russell average more made threes than Russ, Pat Bev, Schroeder, Reeves, and Christie combined.
Yep.
And they're both top 15 in three-pointers made. So now that provides more spacing on the floor. LeBron James can get downhill. AD can operate a little bit more one-on-one. So I like the addition. Does this make them title contenders? I don't think so.
While this trade has definitely solved the shooting and depth problems that the Lakers have always had since the past season, they're still sitting near the bottom of the West. And as Sharp has said earlier, this trade will not turn them into instant contenders, because there's definitely going to be some chemistry issues along the way. And the worst part of it is that they only have a little over 20 games left to pile up some wins and figure things out before the playoffs arrive. Now, regardless of that, the Lakers should be a playoff team with the significant additions that they had, and their new lineup has kind of shown glimpses of that when they defeated the Dubs 109-103. But the thing is though, Steph Curry didn't play that game, so I'm not fully sold on this improved Lakers squad just yet. You can also argue that LeBron didn't suit up, but for the Lakers, inconsistency has been a problem for them all season. So there's no guarantee they would have even won with the all-time leading scorer playing. As of now, the Lakers are still a few games back behind the Dubs, and if I'm the Golden State Warriors, the Lakers should be the least of my concerns right now, cause there are tougher teams that I gotta worry about, perched at the top like the Nuggets, Grizzlies, Kings, and the Mavericks. Now, speaking of the Mavs, they also made a major splash during the trade deadline by acquiring Kyrie Irving in exchange for Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, and a bunch of future picks. The battle cry of Luka Doncic this season is that he needed help, and what better way to send help than by giving him an 8-time All-Star as his backcourt partner, who's averaging 27 points a ball game this season. While this combination of Luka and Kyrie looks really promising, we've seen this type of duo a bunch of times already, and I don't want to sound pessimistic, but teaming up a high-volume scorer with another high-volume scorer doesn't really pan out 9 times out of 10. And on top of this, I'm just really concerned about the offensive dynamics between these two, because you gotta keep in mind that both of them are ISO-heavy, ball-dominant players, which means that someone has to give way so that the other guy can get his groove on. Anyways, aside from this, here's another problem that the Mavs might need to address moving forward, according to Stephen A. Smith.
They got him Kyrie Irving. Is that enough? Can these two make it to the NBA Finals?
No, I don't believe so. And that's not to knock them at all. Reality of the situation is that both of them are spectacular offensive players. Both of them struggle to be average defensively. And when you consider the level of competition that they'll be going against, Phoenix, Denver stand out above the crowd. The Memphis Grizzlies cannot be ignored. When you consider the level of resistance and competition that's facing them, you're going to have to be able to play collective defense. Now, they're a top 10 defense in the NBA. Jason Kidd has done an exceptional job. But with the personnel they gave away in Dinwiddie and obviously Dorian Finney-Smith, I know you still got Christian Wood. I know you still got Tim Hardaway Jr. with Luka, with Kyrie. But the reality is you're compromised defensively. And points might win games, but defense wins championships. Playoffs are championship time. I can't see them getting past those upper echelon teams, the roster they have.
With that said, the Mavs gave up 133 points against the Kings, where both Luka and Kyrie played for the very first time, which resulted in a tough loss, and clearly their defense was nowhere to be found in that game. While their working dynamics on the court can be easily resolved, the biggest wild card here is how long the Mavs can keep Kyrie away from doing his off-court shenanigans as well as taking part in some backstage drama. Kyrie Irving is definitely one of the best hoopers out there if he's 100% locked in, but throughout the past couple of seasons, we have seen him get involved in a bunch of non-basketball related issues, like the vaccination thing and the insensitive remark that he made over Twitter, which eventually led to a fallout between his former employer, Joe Tsai, as well as the rest of the guys in the Nets locker room. With Kyrie added to the equation, the Mavs pose a legit threat to the Dubs' back-to-back championship aspirations. Cause quite frankly, this new Mavs lineup is definitely an upgrade compared to last season when the Warriors just crushed them in the playoffs in just 5 games. If they ever cross paths in the playoffs once again, the Mavs can definitely give the Warriors a run for their money. But regardless of how scary their new duo might become, I think they'll still be no match for the tandem of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Now, the reason I'm saying this is that both of these guys have already thrown their egos out of the window once they've teamed up, and this has allowed them to coexist without any friction between them at all. These guys are already battle-tested, with all the wars that they went through in the finals, and with Klay slowly getting back to his old form. The Dubs are sure as hell going for another deep run in the playoffs, especially when Steph comes back stronger after dealing with his injury. Anyways, aside from the Mavs, the Suns also went all in at the trade deadline by acquiring the 13-time All-Star Kevin Durant in exchange for Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and a boatload of future picks. Without a doubt, this has got to be the biggest trade this season, and after this blockbuster deal was finalized, the Suns quickly became the favorites to come out in the West, and their championship odds suddenly jumped out of nowhere as they are now just sitting behind the Celtics. After having back-to-back heartbreaking losses in the playoffs, the Suns have sent a clear statement that they want to win it all this season by adding a lethal assassin in their lineup to add more firepower on the offensive end, at the expense of letting go of their key defensive pieces. Anyways, Shannon Sharpe also touched on this topic, and here's his hot take on this KD Suns trade.
Do you know in the last 3 years, not counting the year, the first year that he rehabbed the whole year, he's missed 83 games
That is
in 3.
correct.
83 and counting.
Okay, what if he doesn't miss any more?
If. You say, do they win championship on if?
No.
Oh.
Do you like what they look like on paper?
I do offensively.
Yeah.
Now who's going to defend? Mikal Bridges, 3-and-D guy, finished second in the defensive player of the year last year.
Sure
Jay
did.
Crowder, a defensive guy.
Big loss, I agree.
So now you're going to put a lot of points on the board.
Yeah.
Who you going to stop? You know, DeAndre Ayton, he comes and goes. He might give you 20 and 15. He might give you 10 and 6. Mm-hmm. He and Monty Williams, they're always butting heads.
Right.
Chris Paul is not the Chris Paul from 3 or 4 years ago. He's old and slow.
Basically, what the Suns did here was that they exchanged their top 10 defense by doubling down on offense with the premise that their new big three, consisting of Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant, will fire on all cylinders at the same time come playoff time. The Suns clearly put their big boy pants on with this trade, and it's definitely a championship or bust scenario now for them. But while this new Suns lineup looks really scary on paper, I'm still extremely skeptical about them because of their lingering injuries. I mean, as you heard Sharpe say earlier, CP3 is now 37, and he also missed a couple of games last season and this season due to the various ailments that he has. Meanwhile, Booker only played 31 games this season, and he has also missed a bunch of games because of his left groin injury. And lastly, KD has been actually out for the last 16 games as he deals with his own injury too, and I think he won't be back until right after the All-Star break. So as you can see, while this Suns team looks like a legit contender on paper, we're still unsure if they can really go all the way with a lineup hobbled by injuries, and unless they're fully healthy, I'm not 100% on board with this bandwagon just yet.